the Tesla Model Y is on track to become the world's most popular car, today I speak with Milan to hear his experience using the Tesla Model Y for a family road trip across the US and to see whether he would recommend it to others. Click subscribe to stay updated to more videos on Tesla. Milan, what should the audience know about you?
Well, I am a family dad. I have 2 sons, and together with my wife, we love traveling. And when we are not busy traveling with the Tesla through the United States, I run a leadership development company based out of Chiang Mai, Thailand, and we have operations globally.
Milan, you mentioned you came here with a group of 5, all the way from Thailand. It's a very long journey. 3 adults, 2 kids. What made you pick the Tesla Model Y for this road trip?
Well, the first reason is that I follow you on YouTube and I wanted to try it for myself. What is it like to drive a Model Y and a Tesla car? It was the first time we were having an EV. The biggest concern that we had was, would everything fit? Not just everyone, like my wife, my mother-in-law, and our 2 sons who are 4 years old and 10 months old, would they fit in here? But also the luggage that we had for 2 weeks, including baby food that was frozen. So that was our #1 concern.
And this is not a small amount of luggage, as you can see in this video. So you're bringing so much luggage. One of the key selling points of a Tesla Model Y is that it's got enough space for families. And these are 2 young kids here going on a 10-day road trip. How well did the Model Y fit your family space needs?
Well, the short answer is everything fit inside. We didn't have to leave anything or anyone behind. And the reason why is that this Model Y is very clean in the way it's compartmentalized. There's not many edges where you need to push your luggage around or into. There's these spaces here on the right and on the left where you can fit a full-size backpack in. And it fit everything very, very nicely. I think the big bonus is what I'm sitting on right now, the space where you can put a whole luggage in for this. We put the freezer box for the baby food in here, plus 1 backpack, and it fit very nicely.
It almost fit me as well, since some of you may have saw in the earlier Model Y video. It's fit everyone. Well, how will you compare this car compared to the other cars you've driven in other road trips?
Well, we've tried other cars, SUV types cars in road trips. For example, the most recent one was in Iceland, and there everything fit as well. And even though the car seemed much bigger, the space wasn't as big as here. So we had to push a lot. We had to move things around a lot. It was had to push the door to close. So it wasn't the nicest experience. So I think in that sense, this Model Y feels a bit cleaner. It looks much smaller, but I think it looks deceivingly small. It actually fits a lot inside.
That's true. When you see the Model Y in the streets, it may not look like a very big SUV. It is a compact SUV. However, no engine, the way it's designed and architectured, the space is well utilized from what I hear.
It also has the space in the frunk, which we didn't even have to use. So that was also surprising. I had that as a backup in my mind in case it doesn't fit, but we didn't need to use it.
That's an initial look, fit a family use. Now we're going to head to an Atlanta Supercharger because the car is a low state of charge, and we'll see you over the Supercharger station. We're here at the Supercharger in Atlanta, and Milan's going to show us how to charge a Tesla.
Check it out. This is really cool. You press the button and it opens automatically. Plug it in and that's it.
When it turns green, it's charging. You'll notice that in the US, Tesla uses their proprietary charger, which is a lot smaller than the CCS charger that you find in Southeast Asia and other parts of the world. So now that we're here in the Supercharger station, it's going to take about 25 minutes to fully charge the Tesla. You can see in the Tesla console right in front of us over here. So it's charging at 229 kilowatts right now. So as we wait for a while, this is a good opportunity to just ask Milan some questions about using the Supercharger network. For many drivers, especially those who've never driven an EV before, one of the biggest complaints is, if I drive an EV, wouldn't it take a very long time charging? How does it affect road trips? So now that you spend 1 week in the Tesla, how does driving with an EV and charging compare to driving with the ICE car?
Well, I think the first thing is that it does take longer to charge the car, and the only thing that is the consequence of it is that we had to plan for our trip much better. It was my wife, our two sons, and my mother-in-law in this Tesla where we were going together, and we were going from Atlanta to Florida and back. So what we did is we always found a supercharger that was close to a restaurant where we could have lunch or dinner, so that we would use the time in between. And that worked really nicely because the superchargers are usually at a location where there are shops around, or we could just pick a restaurant that we liked.
For many people buy EVs, one of the reasons why they buy Tesla is because of the Tesla Supercharger network. It charges really quickly. For your road trip the past week, could you have done it without Tesla Superchargers?
Probably we would not have done it without the Tesla Supercharger because it would be too long. This one we took half an hour to 45 minutes, depending on the battery level, for each charge. So it was a perfect time for us to eat in between, or to just take a break and let the kids run around.
Throughout your trip, do you have to wait long to queue up for chargers? Or could you always find a stall when you reach one?
We always found a stall when we reached one. There was one time when we got the last stall, and then there came a Tesla right after us, and they had to wait. It was one time only.
The good thing of the US is that most of the supercharger stations are pretty big. As we wait for our Model Y to charge, Milan and I are just going to take a short walk down this supercharger here in Atlanta. I believe this is the biggest supercharger station you've been to.
Yes, I think it's 25 superchargers here, and lots of Tesla cars. I don't think I've seen that many Tesla cars in one place.
So you see many of the variants here. We just passed by a white Model 3. On our left, there is a red Model 3 and a gray Model S. And as we walk further down, we'll just see more Model Ys, more Model 3s, different configurations. What we do not see here today is the Model X, which is the premium SUV. It's basically a more premium version, double the price of the Model Y that Milan has been renting for the past week. So you've rented on Turo?
On Turo, yeah. It was a very, very easy experience. Just picking up the car at the home of the owner and then just driving out. It was very, very easy.
How much did it cost you to rent for 10 days?
10 days, $1,300, including everything, all the fees.
All in, unlimited range as well?
Yeah,
That's the
unlimited
one you
miles,
got?
yeah.
And rented from Atlanta, drove to Florida and back.
Yes, correct. It was a good road trip, and the Tesla had a great, was driving very nicely, bringing us there very safely, there and back.
I can tell you why this is a very good deal. 5 months ago when we were here, we rented a Model S Plaid, their fastest car, for 1 day in Texas. That cost us $1,000 for 1 day. For 1 day, basically like 1 day of joyride, 1 day of experience, and you got a Model Y for 10 days, but paying just a little bit more.
Yeah.
So as y'all can see, this is a very big supercharger station. We won't get something like that in Singapore so soon because of the electrical grid. In Thailand, hopefully we do. Let me just give you a little bit of a full view of this supercharger station. We're inside the Model Y, and the Tesla is Milan's first EV. So my question to you is, what's the biggest difference driving a Tesla compared to other cars?
I think it's the noise level. Driving a Tesla is really quiet. You don't hear the sound of an engine like you would have in an other regular car, and that is, I think, the biggest difference. Just it's quiet, and then also there's no gears. The acceleration is very smooth. It's fun to drive.
What's one thing you liked about driving a Tesla?
There are many things I liked about driving a Tesla. One is obviously, like I mentioned, the noise. That it's so quiet. It's very calm. When we put on the music, for example, for the baby to sleep, it was just we just heard the music and the baby slept, which was really nice. Another thing I liked is another thing that my son liked. He's 4 years old. He liked the farting sounds. Like you can set the Tesla in a way that whenever you turn on the signal, there's a fart sound that comes out, and we did that many times to his joy and entertainment, and that was keeping him also engaged during the drive.
It sounds like your kids enjoyed the Tesla as well. This is not uncommon. Many kids love the Tesla. The fart mode is found on the toy box, and let me show you where you can find it. When I open the toy box, fart modes are the top one, so it looks like it's well utilized by the family earlier. Was there anything else that other members of the family loved about the Tesla?
For my mother-in-law, who was sitting in the back most of the time between our two sons, she enjoyed that she had so much space to put her bags, the food for the kids, the like all the stuff that we need to keep everybody healthy and fed and clean. So there's a lot of space in the back. And one time I was sitting in the back as well, and I was surprised with how much leg room I actually had. I could stretch out my legs below the seats in front of me. So that was very surprising and very nice.
Lots of spark joy here. What on the Tesla does not spark joy for you? Anything that you wish was different?
Well, there were a couple of things. The first one is, if you plan to go on a long distance family trip, you have to plan your charging stops wisely, because they can take up to 45-50 minutes depending on how fast it goes and how low the battery level is. So sometimes we were forced to stop even though we weren't hungry yet. So that was a bit annoying, especially if you have two boys that have to be in bed at a certain time. I think that's the biggest probably downside that we experienced. The second one is minor things. For example, the wipers, they didn't adjust very nicely to the level of rain that we had. So sometimes the wipers would go at max level and there was just a little drizzle, and sometimes the rain was pouring and the wipers didn't activate. And the first time that happened, I was confused because I didn't know where to activate the wipers. And then, of course, we figured it out. But it was like there was a moment of like, oh, I'm not feeling safe in this car.
Were there any other pain points for your kids or family members?
I think my wife had a pain point in adjusting the aircon to a level that felt comfortable. When you set it to manual, of course, you have many different control levels. It wasn't that intuitive, and the automatic one didn't adjust so naturally. Sometimes it would go full speed, sometimes it would go down. It became very hot in here. I think it's because of the glass roof as well. And we were driving in Florida under the sun. Was really like 40 degrees outside, 40 degrees Celsius outside. So it became very hot in here, and the aircon didn't adjust as nicely. So that was, I think, her biggest pain point.
Thank you for sharing, Milan.
And speaking of the glass, I think my son really enjoyed the glass, like looking up, seeing the clouds. That was a lot of fun for him. My mother-in-law, on the other hand, she didn't like that she had the glass because she felt like she's getting an unwanted tan during this time because there's no way to cover it. So maybe one idea would be that like a button to tan the windows automatically. That would be really cool. But there was one thing that she had mentioned.
The sunroofs above are iconic to every Tesla. Every Tesla has it, and there's no option to not have a sunroof. What Tesla has done is it's gave it 99.9% UV protection, but then it still allows heat in as well. So some owners, they still do tint the sunroof a little bit more, or some buy a sunroof cover just to cover it a little bit more. While many people love the sunroof, there's also some pain points, especially in hotter countries in Southeast Asia. And this week has been actually relatively hot throughout most of the US.
True.
That's a look on the Tesla from Milan's perspective, driving it, using it. the pros and also the downsides. Now we're going to head out. Driving the past week in Georgia and Florida, how many Teslas have you seen?
Oof, I've probably hundreds of Teslas. Yeah, I didn't count them, but we saw them, especially in the cities in Atlanta and in Orlando. We saw them quite a bit. So it's it's really happening quite often that we see those.
It's growing, booming a lot. Teslas are everywhere, a lot more so in California. You'll see that there are 300,000 Teslas in California. And now, Tesla is actually planning to launch in Thailand, where you're currently based.
Yes.
How do you think your Teslas will be received in Thailand?
I think they will be very well received by people that are passionate about what's happening in the automotive industry. Probably more in Bangkok than in other parts of Thailand. I live in Chiang Mai in the north, and I do not see that many EVs in Chiang Mai, which is the second largest city in Thailand, but still tiny compared to Bangkok. So my prediction is that it will start in Bangkok, and then from there go to other parts of Thailand. I think the biggest challenge probably for the adoption is a network of EV stations, especially in the countrysides of Thailand.
Agree. Thailand's done a great job building up the public EV charging network, and it's ahead of few countries, even Malaysia. I'll say almost on par with Singapore. But there's still a lot of work to do because EV adoption is still a very small percent, single digits in Thailand, about 5%. So if it goes from 5 to 50%, imagine how many more public EV chargers we will need to support this population. And not everyone would have home EV charging because not everyone stays in landed property.
That's actually a question that I have. How would you live in a condo, right? How will you, if you had a Tesla, how would you charge it at home?
It's a good question. Many people ask that. And in Singapore, from what I've seen, almost half of all Tesla owners don't have home charging. So what we do is we rely on the Tesla Supercharger network. We actually only need to charge our cars in Singapore once every 3 to 4 days. Because like one end of the island to the other is 50 kilometers. And a Tesla's range is 400 plus kilometers in real world usage. So that's how we use it. The behaviors definitely are different. As Milan mentioned earlier, there is some planning involved when you drive an EV. Another good way is if you're driving a car to office or the malls, those are destination charging. You normally have slow chargers in those locations. So they won't be as fast as Supercharger charging in 15-20 minutes. But that's ideal because you don't want it to be too fast. Because you don't want to be halfway in a meeting and someone says, get your car out a lot, you're hogging the charger. That's another way to mitigate the situation where you don't have home EV charging.
And that's one thing that happened to us during one break where we were having lunch and while charging the car, and then halfway through the lunch the app told me that the car was fully charged and that I had 5 minutes or something to go back to the car to pick it up and move it. So I had to leave my family at the restaurant. I had to walk to the car, pick it up, because the Supercharger was faster than the food. And once I moved it, I just parked it in front of the restaurant, so my family didn't have to walk, which was nice as well.
It's a bit of a learning curve to adapt to driving an EV. Has the gains been worth the pain?
I would say the experience was amazing. Driving this car, just having this experience of driving a Tesla in a way that is not possible in Thailand yet. I think that was really cool. I don't know if I would buy one simply because I live in Thailand, and I don't know if we would be ready for the way we drive. But I had a very, very positive experience overall. My family as well.
We're here in the back seat of the Model Y, and I noticed that your baby seat's on our left. So you had a baby seat, you had two other occupants here, one adult, one child. Mm-hmm. How comfortable was everyone?
They were very comfortable. My son, 4-year-old, he was sitting here where you sit. There was a baby seat for a 10-month-old baby, and my mother-in-law most of the time was sitting here And what she liked was that she had a lot of space to put all the stuff that we need to put. I don't know, like shoes or whatever this is, a toy. And that was a great experience for them. For my son, he liked the roof, the sunroof. That was really a joy for him to just watch what's happening outside.
It's got a whole uninterrupted sunroof that kids, the rear passengers, would enjoy. The front passengers, you probably wouldn't be looking at the sunroof at all.
No,
Yeah.
I was driving most of the time.
After 1 week with the Tesla, a long road trip, you probably clocked a lot of miles. You've had to use the supercharger up 10 times, you mentioned,
10
in those
times,
10
yeah.
days. Would you recommend a Tesla to others for their road trips?
I would recommend it for anybody who's interested in driving Tesla and exploring EVs. If you do that, I would just add a footnote that if you travel long distances, you need to plan where you're going to charge and where you're going to stop, especially when you have little kids. But once you do that in a good, well-established country like the United States, I think that's very easy, where you have the infrastructure in place and can just find the superchargers where you need them near restaurants. That's, I think, the number one thing.
Agree, you've got a plan. You can't just YOLO a trip with a Tesla or any other EV to begin with. When you click on a route on your Tesla navigation in the center console, it will show you all the supercharger stations along the way. You do not need to charge to 100% in every single supercharger station. The most efficient mix of time and also charging is when you just top up just enough to get to the next supercharger station. Because you don't want to go above 80. It actually slows down your whole trip.
One thing that I found really useful is that the app told me while we were sitting at the restaurant that now we had reached a charge level that will help us to get to the final destination already. So we knew, even though the car is not yet fully charged, it will be enough to get us to where we want to go. So that was a very useful feature that helped us to say, okay, let's just go then.
For someone who is driving a Tesla for the first time, what's one tip you have for them?
I think the thing that I had to get used to most at the very beginning is the way the pedal works, the acceleration pedal. Because the moment you let it go, the car starts braking already. So that was one thing where I was like, oh, that's new, and it took me a little bit to figure that out. Other than that, it's really easy, really intuitive, and you can just go and enjoy the ride. It's good fun.
How much YouTube research or planning you had to do before driving the car?
I did quite a bit. I went through several of your videos. I was particularly concerned about, will everyone and everything fit? And there was not that much content about this available on YouTube. So it was a little bit finding all the bits and pieces of information together and putting them together. I'm glad it worked out, and I hope that this video will help other families in also making a decision to drive a Model Y on their longer road trips.
It's a pretty insane amount of luggage you've seen earlier in this video that they brought in this trip. I'm still processing it myself. 5 humans, all those bags, it fit in a Tesla Model Y.
It did. Yep.
Thank you, Milan, for sharing your story on your family's road trip. 5 people, a mountain of luggage that all fit, all made it towards the end.
Yes.
It's still unbelievable to me.
Yeah, to me too. And it was a great fun experience. Thank you so much for having me on your channel.
Welcome. And I hope this inspires more of us to actually try out a Tesla Model Y for your own family road trips. And if you do want to share a story, please let me know. If you found this video useful, please click the like button. Hit subscribe to stay updated to more stories from Tesla owners.